Recording is on.
There we go. So you asked, are AI contributions a problem for GNUstep yet? Yeah, they are actually, because what's going on is there is a gentleman by the name of who goes by DTK-Thalion, and over the last 2 weeks, he has submitted approximately 60 or 80, um, issues, PRs, stuff like that. Some of which have been accepted, some of which have not. And Fred is concerned because apparently this guy is making heavy use of AI in order to find and correct the issue, correct the code in order to fix the issues. I mean, on the surface of it, I don't see a problem with this. It's just a matter of the volume is a bit much. Um, also, I don't think that I think he's using it primarily as a tool to find the issues. But I don't know whether or not. I mean, I think he is also using it to fix them, and that's the question. Once he reaches a certain, I guess there's a concern over copyright, and there's also a concern over various other things. Code quality being, one of them. So yeah, it's becoming a problem for us because of the fact that we're dealing with at least one person who's sort of flooding us with
Has anyone just asked them to tone it down? We're a small team. We can't handle this.
No.
I mean,
nobody has yet told him to. I asked him to sign a copyright, a copyright assignment,
right.
And you were going to say something?
Oh no, I just said okay, right.
Yeah. I mean, I asked him to sign a copyright assignment because that sheer volume of work, demands one.
Yes.
But also, he, the issue is that I don't know how it is in other countries, but in the United States, the Supreme Court recently ruled at one point, or at least a lower federal court ruled that a human must make a significant contribution to any given work in order for it to be considered copyrightable, and that affects whether or not you can, of course, assign your copyright to somebody else, because you have to have it first in order to assign it. And if you don't have it, then you can't, which means that the provenance of the code becomes questionable. So
yeah,
that's a problem. That's a legal problem for us. The other issue is that some people believe that AI represents and this is, I can't remember the way David put it. He said something like it's a plagiarism machine, and that I can say is not true, because of the fact that he says that basically AI is simply stochastic prediction, and that's not true. AI is guided by a neural network, which is trained on a certain corpus of data. That being the text that you feed it, whether that's web pages or parts of or medical stuff or history books or science or mathematics or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not as easy as that.
Well, what about something like a policy for the core lives that's like, unless if you're doing more than like a couple of line change, I think it's 30 lines or something you guys typically prefer a copyright assignment for.
Actually,
Like,
it's more than 15. Sorry. Go ahead.
Right. So for like any PR that's more than 15 and you're not a member of the project, or just some bot or something that just auto closes with the message, you can apply for a copyright assignment here. Here are the rules, da 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 da, and
Mm.
just like automate that process away. So like that way it's not like a person being the bad guy. It's like, hey, like if you want to contribute to the core lives, you have to have the copyright assignment, and like all of that becomes, license. Because I mean, if it's not a 1 or 2 line change, I think that's crazy to like to put that on the rest of the team if they're not like, you know, properly assigned and all that.
Yeah. What concerns me with this, honestly, is not only that, but the fact that we already missed the boat, and we talked about this last time we discussed it. We talked. We already missed the boat when it came to you know getting out because of the fact that you know we were supposed to be the default environment um, for Linux, and
Mm-hmm.
we're not that, obviously, because of the fact that when we started working on it, first of all, Objective C wasn't that popular. It's still not, obviously, but second of all, the spec for OpenStep and Cocoa are a lot more complex than GNOME's approach ever was, because GNOME relied on sort of this blow up the world and re-implement everything approach, which is a lot easier than following an existing spec. So we were slowed down because of the fact that we were actually, creating something that was designed and meant to actually, I guess, be well engineered than something like GNOME, which I don't know if you guys ever used C with classes, but it kind of sucks.
Right.
Um, it's so
I
I
don't.
feel like what's going to happen is that we are going to be slowed down quite a lot because of the fact that we won't be able to fix issues or address issues as quickly as others might. Actually, I can kind of see that happening with the Linux kernel if they adopt the policy that you just mentioned.
Yeah,
Um,
I don't see AI itself as the root of the problem here. I see that person as a bad actor, and that's clearly abuse, and there should be just some automation to close that out, so no one has to deal with it. I mean, that's what that seems like to me. I mean, 80 pull requests, that's insane.
So I mean, the question is, are there
Or
real problems that are really problems, or is it just something that in theory might possibly cause problems in scenarios no one has ever encountered? That to me would make the big difference. If
yeah.
you have a tool that allows you to find legitimate problems quickly and fix them quickly, and if you then test the fixes, understand the fixes, are responsible for the fixes, why not use the tool?
I mean, that's my point. That's my point exactly. I mean, in fact, what the second part of what you said, pro bono, is true because of the fact that a lot of it is theoretical. There are a lot of theoretical issues. I mean, and that's the problem, I suppose, that some people are having. I don't know. It's I don't know.
I'm just thinking here. I mean, wouldn't a rule then make sense that would suggest before you report a bug or send a pull request, you need to be you need to be able to demonstrate a real life scenario where this is an issue for you.
I want to throw this out here too. When I worked on projects way before AI, like PCBSD and TrueOS and those things, there were certain people that would come in and just flood the project with tickets. And then anytime you'd ask them, like, okay, can you explain the issue a little better? they just kind of delay and never really give the answers. I'm just like, that to me sounds like this bad acting, like not, it's not AI the root cause. Anyone can do that. Flood a project. There has to be something to deal with that.
Yeah, and I don't necessarily think that the gentleman who's submitting things is a bad actor. He's not. But he means well, but his contributions, I think, I've looked through some of his PRs. They do seem legitimate. But I don't necessarily think that. Let me see. How can I phrase this? Yeah, I don't necessarily think that his contributions raise a very important issue, and I think it's brought to the forefront the idea that we do need to worry about some of the quality of some of this code, because of the fact that some of the code that is generated is honestly pretty bad. I would describe it as maintainable, but not necessarily desirable, because it's it's not very good. Some of it is it works, but that's hardly the point. Humans have to maintain it. I think. I mean, I think I don't know whether or not Ricardo is right. I don't think he is. I think the point though is that we should not have wholly like fully generated classes that are included in GNUstep at the core. I don't think. I mean, that on that I might agree, because of the fact that, for instance, I don't want something like I mean, I have written several stub classes. One of them was NS Ubiquitous Key Store. And that one, currently it uses the file system in order to, store whatever it is that you put in it. But the idea is that it would interface with AWS or something like that in order to store your information on the cloud, so that other devices could access it. But if someone used AI to create an entire subclass or an entire class that does that, and wants to include it in GNUstep, that becomes a problem, because I'm not sure that's something that we want. And on that, I will very likely agree with Ricardo on that one. But using it as an assist, or using it to help you find a bug, I don't think that's a problem. I think that's very valid use. It's a tool.
But even what you just mentioned there, I would not expect the person who doesn't have a copyright assignment to even be able to propose that kind of change. Like, I mean, it should be kind of an automated process. Like, hey, we notice you want to add this new class, whatever. We don't see you in the list of people that have a copyright assignment. Follow this process here to get one.
Well, I mean, you're doing kind of what I did in the argument as well. You're focusing on copyright. I mean, assuming that copyright is not the issue, code quality, then the problem becomes code quality.
Right.
Also,
and I get that too. I was just saying, like to even be considered for a PR at all through automation, I think that kind of thing should be checked somehow, and just the PR just closed as part of a workflow.
Right. I understand what you're talking about.
Automate that aspect of it away first, and then have the conversation about LLMs or something if there's code quality issues with too many of them. But I would think if the person's not even in the copyright assignment at all, then most of those PRs would just automatically get closed by the automation, and it wouldn't be so overburdening.
Right. I mean, I've asked him for a copyright assignment, and my policy with respect to that has always been if somebody has requested one, then they're fine because it's on the way. Um, because I think we've been one of the blockers to contribution has always been the copyright assignment. I've always kind of looked at it as a burden in the sense that we have to do it because of the fact that the Free Software Foundation owns the copyright on the code. Of course, they license it back, but it's in order to protect the project itself to make sure that one body has the copyright on the entirety of the copyright. I mean, on the entirety of the code,
Right.
so that they can defend it, if that ever has to. And actually, I'm going to show you a reason why they might have to do that later. But yeah, it becomes an issue of code quality, and I mean, we've always been sort of the gatekeepers when it comes to making sure that code, that copyright assignment has been is is obtained and is signed and stuff like that. Actually, that's my
Right.
job.
I did it. I have one. I'm just saying, like, I don't know. It just seems like this is going to become a problem for a lot of projects and automated workflows versus a human have to clean up all this mess. It makes sense to me to try to get ahead of it that way. At least on GitHub, I don't see anyone doing this to you on SCN.
Yeah. You guys can hear me all right, correct?
Greg, you are loud and clear.
Okay, good.
So to summarize the current policy, you are allowed to use AI assistants as long as you check, understand, and are responsible for the code, essentially.
Yeah, and I think that's a reasonable policy to have.
Right. But I also see what
Agree.
Fred and others go through when reviewing code that I submit, and they go through it pretty deeply, and then they're like, can you fix this? Can you fix this? Can you fix this? And that takes a lot of time and human effort. So I can totally understand getting blown up by a large amount. That's a big problem.
Hold on. It's on the mailing list. Graham. The issue is that
It's on the developers mailing list, or is this right?
no, it's also on the what do you call it?
Discuss.
It's also on Discuss.
Okay.
Let me see. One of the things that yeah, it's under let me see. What is the subject? It's under this. If you search GNUstep Discuss, and I'm very likely gonna post this, on a hold on. This is the subject line. For anyone who's interested, it's policy use of AI generated content in GNUstep, and it outlines exactly what Pro Bono is talking about. I'm assuming that you read it, Pro Bono, because I did repost it to the list at one point.
Yeah, I went over it briefly, but I always try to make things short.
Yeah.
To keep it short. How do AIs call that? Context compaction.
Yeah. Yeah. I love when it says compacting context to fit
Right.
into the 2% budget or something like that. It's wild. But yeah, I never actually, somebody had told me a few years back before AI. Hold on, let me see. Yep, that's it. Yeah, before AI had come out that we would be discussing it on the list, I would have called them crazy. By the way, speaking of anniversaries like we had earlier this year, I've been the lead of GNUstep for 20 years as of December 2026 this year. Apparently, I I took over as the lead in 2006. I always thought it was 2008, but I guess I misremembered. Yeah.
Happy anniversary.
Thank you. Oh boy. All right. So I guess, I mean, if we're finished discussing the impacts of AI, I'm sure it's going to come up later in our discussion. Have you guys discussed anything specific with GNUstep before I arrived?
Not very special stuff. More generally about AI usage.
Oh, okay. Well, can I show you guys a couple of neat things I've done in Gap and in Gorm?
This is what we are here for.
Yep. Did you do something with Y code? Also, I saw some commits.
I've been doing stuff with Y code in order to, but it's not functional yet.
Okay.
And I don't know if Pro Bono, were you here the last time when I showed the browser?
Unfortunately, I wasn't.
Okay, let's see. So I will demonstrate that as well. Hold on one second. Let me put myself in the center box here. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay, excellent. All right. First off, notice anything in terminal?
Your backpack, no, not backpack, but your wallpaper is different now.
No. Look at something that's actually like blinking.
Yeah, the cursor blinks.
Yes, I added a blinking cursor to terminal. That's something that I've always wanted to do. Because it honestly irritated me that I would always have to figure out which window was active by the color of the border, which
good idea.
So yeah, I mean this way, when the cursor blinks, that's your active window. But also I always loved terminals that have blinking cursors anyway, because of the fact that it's always just more, to me, it's more visually pleasing. But one thing that I did in Gorm, I'll show you this, is and some of you will be familiar with this from the old Next days.
Yeah, the connection lines.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. See there?
Yes, indeed.
Yeah. This uses a couple of NS windows, obviously, in order to.
How did it ever work without that? Isn't that how it's supposed to work?
Well, yeah. What we always did was we always used these green and sort of.
You're right.
Not necessarily red, but I think it's chartreuse, or pinkish. S and T, source and target, little badges. But yeah, I mean, I had always missed this, and I can tell you why I said what I did earlier. Now, actually, Next had a patent that actually addressed that. That expired. That was filed in 1996 and expired in 2016. So it's not patented anymore. It used to be, but it's not. So I went ahead and implemented it. So yeah, I figured it was more visually indicative of a connection. So it makes things easier, I think. But yeah,
you could even improve on this one and make it an arrow, so you know the direction of the connection.
That's a very good idea.
That's why I left the source and target badges intact. Okay. Of course, you can turn it off. I added a preference here that allows you to show connection lines. It's enabled by default, but you can turn it off. If I turn it off here, it won't do it. It'll just do what it did before. But yeah, so let me see. But yeah, let me show pro bono what's happening with the browser. Hold on. Yeah, I don't know if you can see it. You probably can't. It says libs WebKit CEF. All right. It's over here on my dock. All right. This is it. This application, as a matter of fact, is an example of AI. Using an AI assist, because what I had done is originally I wrote this library without any kind of assistance at all, and it was getting some sort of recursive lock that I couldn't figure out, and it kept on. Hold on one second. I don't know why it's not launching from the dock, but I'll launch it from here. I suspect the one in the dock is pointing to the wrong place. Okay, there we go. Yeah, it was getting some sort of recursive lock that I couldn't figure out because I was using the CEF library Chromium embedded framework in order to provide the browser. And naturally, it is capable of doing anything a normal browser can do. I can go to mail.google.com here and check my mail. Just fine.
Wow.
Yeah. And I also added the ability to, of course, I can create I can open a new browser. It's blank, but
So here's my question. How much of this do you have to recompile yourself versus what are you using from the underlying distro? Like, is there a precompiled library of CEF that you're using, or do you have to compile the whole thing yourself?
Unfortunately, there is no CEF library in any kind of any distribution. They don't include it in Linux distributions for some reason. I don't know why that is, but I wrote a script that basically will download a particular version of it for you and build it using CMake. And the installation script also includes the libraries that you need in order to that you need to link against. It copies those into the library path as well, so that when you do, and actually I reduced it down to one top level build script, which is just build.sh. You do build.sh in order to build the whole thing, and then you do build.sh space dash install in order to install it in the right place, because what it does is it takes the library in Objective-C, which basically consists of a web view.h, and I'm going to add other things that provide more compatibility. But right now we have a functional web view. This was created using Gorm. The interface was created using Gorm. Basically, what I did was I created a window, and then I created a subview. A view in the window, a custom view that just points to web view. Okay, so when I bring it up, it loads the Gorm file and it goes out and instantiates the web view, and there you have it. So the let me see. So yeah, it uses a version of CEF that is it's pinned to a particular version, to a particular hash, so that I don't have to worry about a moving target. I have occasionally, I have upgraded it once because I read about fixes that were in CEF, so I changed it one time. I haven't changed it again, but if I have to, I will. But this provides just what I needed was the ability to add WebView in Gorm, so that programmers and developers could use a reliable WebView without having to resort to using Simple WebKit, because Simple WebKit, while an interesting exercise, is ultimately futile because of the fact that there's just too much. There's too much there in WebKit in order to duplicate all of it. And yeah, so that's one of the reasons why. Hold on.
Do you also inherit the cookie management and things like F12, the developer view and stuff like that? Is that coming for free, so to say, or do you have to re-implement all of that?
And that's part of what I'm going to try to explore. I don't know, because one of the things that we do sort of lose in the translation is sort of a deep interface, the ability to deeply interface with JavaScript. That is one of the costs of talking to CEF, but CEF does have APIs that I haven't fully learned that actually allow you to do some of that. I think that it's possible to have a developer view, and I don't know if that can be done within CEF or not. I'll have to figure that out, because that's an interesting question. And
Have you had a look at how Qt is doing it? There is a web view based on Chromium for Qt, and as far as I remember, that stuff comes with it, and it's just taken out of Chrome.
Yeah, and if that's the case, then I have to figure it out. And Graham, I'm going to show this in a second. Hold on a second.
That's a great achievement, by the way. Having a modern browser in GNUstep that makes it a lot more daily drivable.
Yeah, and in fact, one of the things that I've been trying to do is trying to enhance applications so that and in fact, Steven.
Do you know how big it is?
How what?
How big the library plus the app itself is?
No,
like on disk.
No, I think it's probably about 2 or 3 gigabytes. It's relatively large.
Okay.
But I've been working toward. Graham will remember this. I've been working towards the thing that Steven had pointed out a while back. Graham, what was his name? What is his name? Steven. God, Steven.
Oh, I know who you're talking about. The SUSE guy.
Yes, that's him.
Steven. Yeah.
Yeah. His thing is he wanted when he uses his Mac, he wants Mac AF applications. In other words, he wants pure Mac applications that use nothing but Mac stuff. And hold on, he says now post a screenshot of the browser showing its own GitHub page. Yeah, that is its own GitHub page. Yeah.
You should post a screenshot of the browser showing its own GitHub page on its GitHub page instead of the old images there.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, you're right. I will. That's good. I mean, I figured showing the GNUstep site was probably good enough. But yeah, let me see. What is the other question? Yeah, I mean, I've been trying to. I've been working towards giving us a full environment because of the fact that I really feel like, we need to be sort of more of a daily driver for some people. I think. I mean, I very much would like to use GNUstep be able to use GNUstep as a daily driver. So yeah. Let me think. One of the things that I mean, I may as well at least demonstrate one of the apps that I wrote. Okay, this is an example of using using AI in order to find a bug. That recursive lock, I would never have been able to find it because of the fact that I wasn't looking in the right place. It would have taken me a while to figure it out. But when I used AI to determine where the problem was, it actually pointed it out, and I was able to fix it within a couple hours. So, I think I think that's a valid use of AI. What I did not do, the other thing I'll admit to is, that I used it to create the documentation for the classes, because it's very useful for that. Repetitive tasks is what I feel AI is useful for. But using it to code the entire class, I think, is very likely, that's where we enter a problem. But having said that, one of the things I need to show to you, Pro Bono, is this one was okay. This application. Ooh, it's not there. There we go. Okay, let me redo this. 1 second. Okay, a lot of this is indeed vibe coded, but the parts that are not, the one part that isn't, is the score file parser. Because I don't know if you ever used a actual Next machine, but one of the things that exists on Next is Music Kit, and Music Kit includes Score Player, and
You gotta love this.
This is a thing. This is a file that I had. Sorry. This is the GUI is. I mean, at least this part of it, the notation part, that is vibe coded, because it's a bit more complicated than I could have ever done. Because of course you see what it's doing here, and of course actually kind of revealed something to me about early versions of the Score Player stuff. Because, sorry, of this, or about Music Kit, because of the fact that you'll notice that it's saying that the tempo is 360. Okay, being a musician, actually, I play the piano and I play a couple of other instruments. Being a musician, nobody is tapping their foot at 360 beats a minute, ever. Okay, it's not. You're going to be very busy.
Way too fast.
Yeah, it's a bit too fast. So out of this, you can sort of like derive the fact that, I mean, these 4/4 time. This is showing an accurate time. It will change if the timing were different. And these are quarter notes. All right. So the issue is that you're doing 360, which means you're basically 1/8ing these quarter notes. So the tempo is actually 1/8 of this, which is, I think, what is it? God damn it! What is 360 divided by 8? I can't remember. Can't work it out in my head at the moment. But no, what's happening is that these are supposed to be eighth notes. Actually, having played this score before on the piano, it's supposed to be an eighth note.
45.
Yeah, 45. Yeah, so the tempo is 45. A hell of a lot slower than 360. But
45 sounds reasonable.
But yeah, I mean, I also, you may notice a play button here. The issue is I tried to implement the play stuff through fluidity and or timidity. It did not work on Linux, but allow me to show you. I did get it working on Mac OS, and I'm trying to get it working on Linux. But I haven't been. I've been a little busy over the last few weeks with work, so I haven't been able to do it. But let me show you what it will sound like if I once I get it done. Let's see. Music Kit. Music. Score files. Bachfugue.score. Okay, yeah, I'm doing this on my Mac. Okay, here we go. Let me know if you guys can hear this. We'll stop it there.
This is very impressive. Wow.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
So
but
couple of questions.
Sure.
What format is the score being saved in? Is it music ML or what is it?
Is it okay? I'll show you that in a moment. 1 second. It's actually a text format. Let's see. It's actually, if you check out the music kit stuff, it's under the music sub directory. It's under the top level is music kit, and then of course you have music kit and various other applications, and under music kit you have the actual like score files. Scores are really just text files. Let me see.
I vaguely remember, and I'm not an expert on this, but I vaguely remember that MuseScore and other scoring apps have a interoperability standard based on XML. I think it's called Music ML or something along those lines. And that might possibly be interesting to also integrate here for interoperability.
Oh, yeah. No, I did not know that. Because, as you can see, it's just a plain text file. That's all it is. It's just, it's actually sort of a DSL that just focuses on playing notes, playing language. And describing a piece of music. I've always thought that the score files were kind of interesting. So, and they're relatively easy to parse. I've been familiar with them since the next days. So that's back in the 1990s, when I first started playing with the Next machine. So yeah, it's just like, this is the score you just heard. This is the Bach Fugue score. It's actually, if you want to listen to it ever, it's Bach's Fugue in A minor it's Bach's Violin Concerto Fugue in A minor.
How do you create these? Is it MIDI imported and then somehow converted, or did you write it by hand?
Well, this one is from the next days. This one is written by hand.
Wow.
Yeah, this is from I could if I break out my my old Next machine, I could play this on my Next machine. It's just so it's sort of like, it kind of revives this old format. I guess.
I see.
But
you could write an translator app for importing MIDI files and putting this out and otherwise around.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, one of the things that I did use when I said part of it was vibe coded, the other part of it was helped vibe coded was the MIDI parser right here, because it will parse a MIDI file and do the same thing, and you can save it as a score file.
Nice. So you have a converter for these files.
Theoretically, because the internal representation is the same. So if you can save it as, in fact, what I did was I added some things, and I'll show you on Untitled here. You can add notes. See, here you can change the pitch. You can say how many beats. You can say where it starts, at what beat in the song it starts. You can change the timing and you can change the tempo. Now this is extraordinarily rudimentary, but
that would be nice.
And you can also add notes, like as in like author notes, like hello, this is blah blah blah, whatever, and it will add it in the score file as a comment, or it'll just say it'll just give you I can't remember if I prefaced it with note or something like that, but yeah, it just gives you a big place to leave a comment, But yeah, this part of it definitely vibe coded because, doing this was a bit. I could have done it, but it would have taken me a hell of a lot longer to do it than it did. It took about a day to figure it all out. And of course, it took me a few days to write the score player. The score parser. But yeah, the score view is really the one thing that is vibe coded. The other things that I wanted to show, I guess this is stuff that we use. Says
Just a little correction for the record. The format I mentioned earlier is called Music XML, and it's a universal exchange format used by MuseScore, Sibelius, and Finale. So maybe that is of interest.
Okay, so
it would be really nice to have a converter.
The thing is, with importing MIDI, you kind of get the musical information, but not really the scoring, how the scoring is written, and you lose information by just relying on MIDI files. So being able to import MIDI files is of course cool, but then you need more than that if you also want to preserve the formatting of the scoring.
Yeah, no, you're right. I hadn't I was not aware of, I'm ashamed to admit I wasn't aware of Music XML. But yeah, so that's score maker. Let me see. Yeah, let me see. So go ahead and shut that down. Let me see. Yeah, one other application I don't think I showed it to you guys was. Did I show you guys Breakout? I don't think I did. Take this opportunity to do that. There we go. On the next machine, there was a demonstration program called Boink, and this is basically an implementation of it because I wanted us to have demo programs that were similar. This is me playing, as a matter of fact, while I'm talking to you. I don't want you guys to think that I automated.
I love Breakout.
Yeah, I mean it's on my GitHub. Everything is on my GitHub, so you guys can go check it out if you want. I'll leave the links for the people listening on GitHub. I'll leave the links in the not on GitHub, on YouTube, in the comments. Sorry, in the description, so that you can download these as well. But yeah, I mean, I showed the guys the last time I showed them a billiards app that I had worked on. Now these, again, let's kind of return to the AI theme that we were talking about before. This one is entirely vibe coded. So is the what do you call it? The billiards application that I wrote. And I'll show him that since it's more visually impressive.
I read on Reddit about a guy who vibe coded old macOS apps.
Yeah, wild. Very wild.
Somebody else did something with the sampler.
Let me see. Yeah, this is a clone of, there was a billiards app also for the next machine, but this one is better because basically, yeah. So when you first start, you have to select the game that you're going to play. At this point, 8-ball. But if I had changed it to 9-ball, it would have gotten rid of some of these, and it would have renumbered the balls. But you hit the balls by, as the further back I drag the mouse, the more tension there will be on the cue. So yeah, and as you can see,
Wow, full physics simulation in there.
Yeah. I mean, let's put it like this. I did these as an exploration of how far I could push AI. And it's relatively concerning how far it can be pushed because of the fact that obviously I've used it to create at least 2 or 3 separate applications. This in and of itself is kind of like pretty impressive. I mean, and the code actually is not that bad. In some cases, it did do some things a little bit more procedural than I would have liked, and that's one of the reasons why I say that the code that AI produces, especially in large volumes, is maintainable but not necessarily desirable. Yeah, this is like I think just an example. I mean, I think that the fear that a lot of people have with respect to AI centers around the idea that, you know, it almost democratizes the way that people code, and makes it accessible to people who don't necessarily have the specialized knowledge that all of us have. Because somebody who is not familiar could basically just build an application without actually knowing what they're building or how. I've run into this before only once. There was a guy who wrote an application for the Mac, written in Swift, and what it does is, and I won't mention the name of the product here because I don't want to say that his code is bad, but his code is really bad, and this was dealing with code that was written during the first early stages of AI, using the cursor application. Sorry, the cursor derivative of VS Code, and the code was so bad. The entire GUI layer was hand coded because, of course, you couldn't generate zip files at that point. I think you can sort of now. But yeah, it's like that. It was that is a demonstration of why I think people are concerned about it, because people can come in and they can just do a whole huge volume of code and not understand a lick of it. And that's a problem. That becomes an issue. But yeah, I mean, these were, in fact, I kind of demonstrated all three levels of what I was talking about: entirely vibe coded, partially vibe coded, and where you use it as a tool to find bugs. That being this one, sort of like this one, respectively. This one, the last application I showed, and and WebKit, the WebKit stuff. So yeah, I mean, but yeah, I mean, it's like I do sometimes I do sit and play this one because I kind of love this application a little bit. Another developer added the ability to have multiple players and to play different games. 1 second, let me start a new game here. So 9-ball. And you can also play. I don't even know what snooker is. What the hell is snooker? I'm not familiar with this game. I do not know how to play snooker. Okay. And of course, billiards, which is a different game entirely. You're just hitting a few balls around. But yeah, it's these were done by, I can't remember his name, but he actually also came in and used AI to add these different games, which is just wild. So yeah. So let me see. What else can I show you?
Y code? Is there something new?
Huh? Y code. I did some work on Y code. Y code is our version of is supposed to be sort of our replacement for Xcode. It's in the libs Xcode directory. Let me see. And it's not. What I did was I made some changes in order to make it document oriented, but unfortunately, it's not starting up, as you'll see in a moment. I don't know why I'm even demonstrating it. It's not even going to start. It's going to come up and crash.
Just one question in the meantime. I think we had talked about this before briefly. What is the status regarding non-binary GORM files, like XML zip files? Is that fully supported now? I think there was something
Oh no,
But
yeah, you can load zip files easily, and in fact, they work completely. Now, generation of them is you know is always is. I mean, I'm gonna just say this sort of generation of zip files is always going to be we're always going to be chasing that target, and that's what concerns me about that. If we come up with a non-binary way of doing that, um, then it's going to have to be entirely ours. In fact, one of the things I'm kind of revisiting recently is the idea of enhancing the G model spec, because of the fact that I don't know if you guys this by the way is Y code. I have sort of this is the beginnings of the toolbar that I created for it, and of course we have project search issues, testing and so on, and then we have these different tabs over here. It's I've been trying to enhance it so that it will like open an Xcode project, but you'll see what it's going to do in a minute. It just starts it up. It doesn't really show anything, and the idea is that I should see an outline here. But to go back to your question, it's something that I've given thought to, but it's it's a very complicated issue because, I mean, of course, it would have to be done for all of the classes that we have. I would have to find a way. I mean, right now we can create nib files. And I'm hearing myself echo, by the way. We can create nib files, but the creation of nib files is also sort of like a moving target because, anytime they add a new class, obviously they're going to add, a way to persist that as a nib, as a nib because of the fact that, they have to find a way to binary to encode it in a binary form, because if you look at because running applications do not load zip files, they load nib files still. So that is always going to be a part of Apple's sort of framework when it comes to, especially in the Objective-C based frameworks. So it's going to have to be something that we own, that we manage. We use loading and saving zip files is a convenience. So is the same with loading and saving nib files, but I think it's going to have to be like a G model file, or something like a zip file, but just something that we control. And I haven't worked out how that's going to work yet.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
So I'm mainly interested in something that is Git diffable. That is why, honestly, at least in Gershwin so far, I'm completely avoiding GORM files because they're a black box to Git. You don't see what has changed. You can't really work line by line on them. And that would be very valuable to have some representation of what is in those files that is Git manageable.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I understand that completely. I mean, one of the things I learned early on in my career when I started working on, because believe it or not, my first like professional, exposure to Next was at Fannie Mae, because they used to use them to do like stochastic prediction of their book or their book.
Oh wow, that were probably the times when only they could afford a Nextcube.
Yeah, I mean, they had a group. They had a lot of different. They had actual Next machines, but they also had a number of Sun workstations that were running OpenStep for Solaris, and then they had the one production machine the several production machines that we were using that were running Solaris, but were running OpenStep 1.1 for Solaris. And OpenStep 1.1 was, if you don't know, it was a package for Solaris that actually implemented all the OpenStep stuff. And yeah, I mean, so when trying to persist stuff in I think it was CVS at the time. It was not diffable. It would just be like, oh, okay, well, 2 people have modified this nib file. Deal with it. That kind of thing. It was impossible
Right.
to merge. So I get it. I understand. So yeah. But yeah. Let me see. Yeah, I was going to show. Okay, last thing I'm going to show you guys, because I feel like I'm kind of monopolizing the meeting, is I actually coded this right here as a demonstration. Let me see. This opens the question whether or not we can actually come on. There we go. This is a GNUstep web application. You know, and this sort of begs the question whether or not, we can use this and people could use this practically. You know what I mean? Yeah. So as you can see, I have apparently I'm fascinated with the book Left Hand of Darkness, because I have it checked out or checked in here and checked out like today, as of today. So I mean, yeah. So GNUstep Web is perfectly functional and usable, and yeah, I just created this little demo.
Forgive my ignorance here. Is this new, or has this been there for a while?
GNUstep Web has been around for a while. It's a clone of WebObjects.
Right.
Yeah.
So the iTunes Store is said to have run on WebObject for a long time until recently.
What's that? Oh yeah. I know. Yeah, it's yeah. I mean, it's like what I'm wondering is could we possibly use this or something? I mean, use GNUstep Web, to do anything on our website.
What do you need to host it?
Huh?
What do you need on the server side?
You need obviously GNUstep Web, but you also need I mean that's it. You just really need I guess a server that's able to run GS Web.
It comes with its own built-in web server, I guess.
It does.
I see how this works. Cool.
Yeah.
I mean, I could even think of, let's say, administration interface for the local machine that you can use from your local network or things like that. Even for applications like that, it might be very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, that's actually a good point. You could write an administration program in order to, like something that you could bring up a browser and do remote administration. Yeah.
Right.
Cool. Yeah. I hadn't thought about that. But yeah, you could. No, absolutely. But yeah, I mean,
we have an Apache adapter for GNUstep Web. We have an Apache adapter for GNUstep Web.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, we do. That's right. We do. It's in the repository. So yeah, we certainly do.
Very cool. I have to look into this. Very interesting. Thanks for bringing it up.
Yeah, no problem. It's interesting to be able to use the browser that I wrote to go to a GNUstep Web application. It's cool. But yeah, let's see. And yeah, I mean, yeah, I think, yeah, that's all I really have to show. But I think some of it was review from last time because I don't think that you'd seen it. but I tried to show new applications like Breakout and stuff like that to sort of like be able to show new stuff. But yeah.
So I tried to catch up from last time, and I saw that there is this thing called LibsAV that you're using for the music app you have shown.
Oh yes, yeah. I figured if I was going to write a score player and a MIDI player, that it might as well be part of a library that is compatible with something that is provided by Apple. So I created a LibsAV. Let's see.
Are there any other apps so far using LibsAV, or is this so far the only one?
No, this is the only one so far. 1 second. Oh, it's in the GNUstep. Yeah, LibsAV. It's an implementation, or it's supposed to be an implementation of AV Foundation. Yeah, this is the MIDI player, or sorry, the MIDI parser. This is the MIDI player. This is the bit that's supposed to talk to fluidity, and it doesn't. It's not working yet.
Right. That would be another question I have. Is there a plan to be able to plug in other synthesizers? Is there an interface for that?
No, but there should be, and you're right. Because fluidity is not the only one. I mean, there are a number of different, I guess you might call them command line synthesizer programs. One of them is Timidity, and I think there's at least one other. One of the couple of ones that you mentioned, as a matter of fact. I think, that's a really excellent point. That's an excellent point.
It just so happens that I'm also working on a little open source synthesizer, which I would be interested in hooking up with the system.
Ah, sweet. Okay, yeah. No, I mean, you know what? I'll start thinking about that. Absolutely.
I mean, the easiest would probably be just to use a pipe for MIDI, right, and just hand it over that way. But it's not the most elegant. Maybe macOS has something more elegant, better architecture for that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, macOS. I don't know whether or not macOS actually provides that. I don't know if they actually would allow you to have a plugin, but I can't imagine why not.
I think Windows does. There is this default synthesizer, but as far as I remember, you can also install other ones.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yes, that's a very interesting question. So thank you. Yeah, thank you for asking that. That I hadn't even thought about that. You're totally right. But yeah, I mean, one of my plans is to go back, is to get, sort of like, to get back to work on the foundation stuff and flesh it out enough to at least support ScoreMaker and Score Player. Because I do have a command line Score Player tool that basically does what you just said. It basically turns the score into a stream of MIDI notes and then streams it to timidity or fluidity on the command line. You can just basically pipe it to it.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah. So yeah, I hadn't thought about that. That's actually a good idea. Cool. Let me think. Okay. Yeah. So I guess, do any of you have any other questions regarding anything I've shown you?
That's a lot of progress. Very, very impressive. I mean, especially the browser is a very big one.
Cool. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah. I'm fixing it, adding to it. I'm gonna look into the JavaScript stuff that you mentioned. And I guess,
Does like GitHub and YouTube and stuff work, or is that what the JavaScript is needed for?
No. JavaScript works in the browser. I'm talking about your ability to get information from JavaScript externally, like outside of like the because the browser is self-contained.
Okay.
Yeah, and CEF is running a sort of like it's it's running it's running a browser. I'm not going to say off screen, but I would say in memory. And what you're
Okay.
seeing is the frame buffer that's coming from that.
I was gonna try to build yours and get it running this week.
Uh-huh.
Now that I finally unbroke my system this morning.
Oh, cool. Okay. Yeah. Browser. I mean, in the browser, JavaScript's working perfectly.
So
Okay.
my question wasn't so much about running JavaScript outside of the browser. It was really about in Chrome. There is this thing F12. If you press F12, you get a developer console where you see all
Right.
the network stuff, and you can interact with the JavaScript for debugging and so on. And the question would be whether that comes for free with the WebKit. I would think so, actually.
I think it does.
And if that is the case, then it's just a matter of hooking it up to your menu and to some shortcuts.
Yeah.
Right.
Form view.
Yeah, I think it's absolutely doable, and I think it's available. I think you do get it for free. When I said externally, what I mean is like programmatically. If somebody else were to write a an application that uses the web view and then expects to be able to call into the JavaScript that is on the page and get a response to that would come back to the Objective-C stuff. That's what I'm talking about. So that bit, I don't know if that's available. What you said probably is easily doable, and if it's not already there, because one of the things that it does do is, oh, by the way, one piece of functionality I forgot to demonstrate was bookmarks. I added something that adds bookmarks. But yeah, I mean, what I'm talking about is if somebody were to create an application that uses the web view and then wanted to get some results from a JavaScript program or JavaScript fragment that exists on the page, that's what I'm talking about.
There is, for testing frameworks, the WebDriver APIs. I also wouldn't be surprised if you get those also for free.
Yeah. They're very cool.
Excellent. So actually, what is holding anyone back to use this as a daily driver browser? Should we do it?
Well, I mean, I do when I'm on my Linux box. And I
So
mean,
you do all your email, your YouTube, everything, full screen, video playing, everything.
on my Linux box, yeah, I use it for my email. One of the things that I have to do, I don't use it for YouTube just yet, but I do because I think that CEF, actually, that's something I haven't really fully tested. One of the things that I think that CEF has disabled because it's running in the background is sound. So I don't think that I think that it might be muted, but I think there's an option to turn that on, which is easy. It's very easy. I think it's just I think it's almost a one-line change in order to get that.
You were guessing my next question, which would have been about running Jitsi in that thing.
Yep.
Yeah, that's actually a good point. No, I'm not. I'm working on my Mac right now.
So that will be the breakthrough when we all join in your browser using Jitsi.
Yeah.
Yep.
That what? That will be a milestone. We'll work towards
Indeed.
that.
Milestone. That is the word I was looking for.
Cool.
Yeah. I love that idea.
I do like that idea. I really do. Okay. So that ends sort of, I guess, my demonstration. What is it? Lars says WO and then heart EOF, GS Web heart GDL. Yeah, you're right. You're not wrong. Yeah, I mean the little demo app that I showed you usesplists to persist what it does, so it's not really using a database. But GDL and GS Web GS Web can talk to GDL, obviously, and GDL has an adapter for, Postgres and SQLite, and I think one other I can't remember. But yeah, cool. So I don't know. Did you watch the previous?
I did. Yeah, I did indeed.
Okay.
Sorry, I couldn't make it last time. The thing is, I'm relatively often traveling over the weekends, and then I'm sitting in some trains with spotty or no internet connection, and hence I wasn't able to join last time, unfortunately. By the way, I saw, is that now new or is it a mistake? Somewhere I read that now the meeting is every 2 weeks.
No. Every month.
Okay, then that must be some misleading information
Maybe
somewhere.
maybe you read the second Saturday of every month because that's when it is. The second
Could be.
Saturday.
Maybe I misread. Okay, sorry about that.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit confusing for some people because they, it's not a set date, and it's I guess and it's not that to keep it on Saturday. It's not like the 15th of every month, which is
Right.
Chaos. But yeah, so I guess let me see. Does anybody else have anything to show? Joe, hint, hint.
Oh yeah. I think Pro Bono has a lot to share as well, but I can do mine real quick because it's just a fast thing.
Ah, cool. Okay.
Okay. You guys see my screen?
It's coming. Yes.
Yep. Crystal
Coming
clear.
as an on screen. Okay. So I'm got NextBSD now running Gershwin here on this Mac Mini, and I think I kind of showed this the last time we talked, but I made more launch daemons. So we have launch daemons now for login window and GDO map and things like that. Then I have man pages for everything, so you can learn how launch CTL works or ASL or launch B. I think has things like launch the IO-reg used by the system. What else was I gonna show off real quick?
Hold on a second. You're so quick. I mean, what you're showing here is a breakthrough. You are talking on Jitsi with working sound and everything on NextBSD.
I was before I called, but you couldn't hear me. So I am presenting on NextBSD, but I'm actually talking on the Mac at the moment. I have an HDMI splitter, so I can switch desktops.
Magic.
I'm sure I'll have microphone input working. I think I had my microphone shut off on my headset when we had limited time to test this morning.
Sure.
But I believe the audio is working. I could hear you and everything. You just couldn't hear me. So I think, anyway, package info, showing some things here. Maybe I'll make this full screen so you can see a little better. And so we got a NextBSD everything package, a FreeBSD compat package, the kernel extensions, and the user land. And these are all upgradable with package upgrade. So every time I rebuild on GitHub, I can just run package upgrade to upgrade my system. And
can you elaborate a little bit on kernel extensions?
Yes, I will. So if I can type. So I have a couple of extensions here loaded at the moment. Intel Graphics is namely the one, and it's basically auto-loaded. There's no hard coding of any GPU drivers on the system. And I have several available now. I'm getting ready to add NVIDIA and others. But if you go here to extensions, I have AMD graphics, Intel Ethernet, Intel graphics, Intel Wi-Fi, Radeon graphics. I'm getting ready to add NVIDIA and a bunch of others, and like every series of NVIDIA. So it doesn't matter which model of GPU you have. You don't have to worry about packages to switch drivers. IOKit just takes care of it. It sees what device ID you have and matches everything up through the kernel. And what else did you want to know about that, Pro Bono?
This is seriously fantastic. I mean, if you see how kernel modules work on Linux or even on most BSDs, this is so much better. It just auto detects the hardware and loads the matching kernel modules.
Yep.
It's really cool. It's really plug and play.
So the other thing is, so go to the website now, download the preview, takes you to the latest release. It was built the other day. You grab the ISO here, and this itself won't include Gershwin, but if you want to install this way, I have a little installer baked in. It's this NextBSD installer. Just allows you to basically install or basically exit to a text prompt. I don't have an available disk here on the system because I'm running the one disk, so I can't show you more than that. But basically, you just select the disk. It doesn't ask to create user accounts or set up host names or anything. It intelligently sets a host name here, as you see, Mac Mini. And let's see what else. So you can install that way, or what I fixed very, very, very late last night and early this morning is we now have an actual Gershwin image based off these NextBSD packages. It's all assembled on GitHub, and then you go there to the release. You can grab that ISO there, and then if you go to on the live media, go to System Applications, Utilities. You can use the installer assistant to select your available disk here and install and reboot. And I've installed several systems that way, and it's working perfectly. So
I can really recommend only everyone to download that ISO. It's a live ISO, and just play around a bit with it, and you will be blown away. At least I was blown away by how fast it boots.
I think the rest of it is better for Pro Bono to show since he's added so much here in the last month, but that's what I had to show. Unless you guys have more questions.
What you did on the boot optimizations is fantastic. I mean, if you compare this to how FreeBSD normally boots, how slowly it boots, this thing is super fast. It's amazing.
Yep.
Do you plan to release an ARM and RISC-V version of it?
Oh, well, on that note, something big I did this month. I am very, very, very close to that now. So if you go to the XBSD org here, and you look in repositories, I made this new userland repo. And this wasn't cross-building yet, but now it actually produces, come on, internet's being a little slow. It actually produces the ARM64 version of the userland now, all cross-built in GitHub.
Oh, nice.
And now I have, you can see it takes 7 minutes to build that, 7 to 10 minutes on average. And then if I go to another one here, I made NextBSD package. That's what actually turns the code, the binaries into packages. I have packages available for ARM64 as well.
Nice.
And repo set up for that. So now the next thing is I need to modify the main project that ingests all those things. It's the ISO assembler, basically. It just builds ISOs from packages in a VM actions VM. Is basically spin up an ARM builder for that and get a couple of bugs fixed, and we'll be able to use like UTM and things to boot the ISO as well. QEMU, UTM, those are my initial targets, and then we'll figure out PI images and things from there.
Very reasonable to use UTM, QEMU as target, because that's the place where the people will have the first contact with NextBSD and Gershwin.
I think it's going to be probably a week or two before I get that going, but that's kind of the next steps too. I think that's it for me. You guys got anything else while I'm here? Oh, let me show you one more thing. There's something I did with documenting. If you go to the userland repo here, I did document every single man page that we have for the project. If you want to learn more about the tools, let me go. So like launch D, launch control, config-D, disk arbitration, IO reg, kex-D. Like you can learn all about the tools and all the available options. And they've all been rewritten against the implementation. So they're, correct about the domains used and all those things.
That is very useful. Very cool.
CPD up that I ported from Dragonfly BSD. That's like Dragonfly BSD's take on rsync. It's baked in as well. So it's one kind of non-Apple thing. And I'm expecting more non-Apple things like SMB and things like that from Lumos and just different ideas that I'd like to bake in. But that's, mostly Darwin stuff here at this layer.
Which is so much nicer user land than what we have on typical Linux distributions.
I posted in the Linux Reddit and they went mad about it. They deleted the post because it was so downvoted that they said it must be a bot who has written this. He deleted.
Yeah.
As Steve Jobs once said, you can please some people some of the time, but you can't please all people all of the time. And actually, with many of our ideas, certainly with mine, many people think it's not a good idea. But this is why open source is cool. Some people think it is a good idea, and it's a lot of fun to work on stuff where we think it's a good idea to do.
Yeah, for some of us, it's a new level of freedom. For others, it's like, hey, I'm not the only one that can do this anymore. It's a little more scary.
Fred.
Indeed.
Hey, Fred, how's it going?
Hey, Fred.
Fine. Hey. Somehow I still have the wrong meeting room in my calendar. So is this just a local problem, or does everybody?
We have an old Google Calendar date. It's every 2 months only, and it's the wrong times in the wrong meeting room. Gregory has maybe access to it, so he can edit it. I have no idea.
Oh, you're talking. Okay, yes, you're right.
Yeah, it would be great. So I'm switching off my camera too, as everybody's anonymous.
We had just a demo of Gershwin Desktop together with NextBSD. Was very impressive. You just missed it, Fred, sadly.
Yeah, I had things to do, sorry.
Oh, no.
Pro Bono has a lot more to show that's more impressive anyway.
Cool. Yeah. I guess if you want me to go briefly over what I had showed, Fred, I can.
Yeah.
And I guess maybe. Okay. Let me see. I don't know if you were here for this the last time. And this actually, I'm going to be 100% with you. Touches on our debate that we're having on the mailing list at this very moment. 1 second.
You're referring to the debate where Ricardo states that we should become completely AI free.
Yep. Yes.
Okay.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. Okay. All right. Can you guys see my screen? I'll make it large here for you guys in a minute. All right. Let's see. Yeah, because the recording is actually like recording from my browser. So it actually will, if I don't expand it like that or expand it on my end, it won't show up on YouTube properly. So yeah, I first showed them. What did I show you guys at first? I showed you. Okay. Showed you Gorm. This doesn't involve any AI code. I just showed them something that I had implemented that I'd always wanted. I always wanted this feature in Gorm, and you may have seen it on the mailing list, and and may remember the history as to why we never implemented it. You see that? The rectilinear line. Yeah, it's done using two NS windows, and I just kept our source and target, and and it works perfectly. I was actually surprised about how easy it was to implement. One of the things I told the guys was that this is something that was actually patented in 1996, and the patent expired 10 years ago in 2016. It's no longer patented, so I went ahead and implemented it. Just because we could, and I added a preferences for this so they can turn it off. It's turned on by default, but you can turn it off if you want. You can just revert back.
Yeah, it's quite nice and great that even the US you're now allowed to do that. As you know, there are currently still no real software patents in Europe, so we would have been allowed to use that feature. But of course, as we want to distribute the GNUstep code also in the US, we have to be careful.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is that I've never believed in software patents. I've always thought that they were wrong. They were the precedent here in the United States that's relevant is a case called Diamond versus Deere. Deere spelled Diehr. Weird. But I mean, that's sort of like I've never thought that they were valid. And there's been cases that actually knock down the strength of software patents in the United States that make it easier to do this without actually, like, for instance, one of the things that sort of, even if this were patented in the United States, one of the things that makes us immune is this right here, because the user can turn it off or on. If it's something that came with the application and you were forced to use it, then it becomes a patent infringement because of the fact that the user, which is funny. Yeah, I know. Which is weird because the fact that if you build it in and the user is forced to use it, then you're infringing the patent. If you give them the option not to infringe the patent, you're not infringing, which is just fucking weird in the US. The US is very, very dumb about this kind of thing. So yeah. But I added it because this was always a feature that I loved. But yeah. Let me see. Now, here's where we kind of step into, and I'll just go through this really, really briefly. And I don't know if you saw me demonstrate this online. You may have seen it on YouTube. When I showed the guys Score Maker, which it's based on my work on MusicKit, and it demonstrates at least one bit of what we were talking about with respect to like using AI. Let me see. I don't want to. There we go. Yeah, it's a music program, and one of my favorite, pieces of music from, one of my favorite pieces of music with Bach was, of course, the Bach's Violin Fugue in A minor, and of course this impossibly fast tempo. I explained why that explains something about the early versions of score of the music kit, because it didn't apparently support eighth notes. But yeah, what is it? All of this is hand coded except the music view, because this is a bit too complicated. I wanted to see if I could get it to actually do it, and it did. It did it very well. I mean, if I can open other scores, and it does show 8th and 16th notes, as you can see. And one of the things, and this is using a command line.
So what is the input for this display?
It's the score files. In fact, let me see. And I'm going very fast because I already demonstrated this to the guys. But I think it's great that you're here, so that, because I wanted you to see this as well. Yeah, score files. These are score files from MusicKit, and these are from back in the day. And score files are basically just plain text files. Okay, so it can either parse. The other piece of this that I used AI for was the MIDI parser, because I don't know how to read the MIDI format, obviously. But with this, I used it to create that class, and it works fine. But this is sort of the preferred way of interfacing with Score Player, because this is the old Next Score format. It's just a DSL that describes a piece of music. That's it. The other things that I showed them was the hold on one second. These are all available on my GitHub, by the way. What is it? Let's see. Damn it. I'd written a game. Let me see. Where is it? Breakout. Or should I show them? I'll show them the border billiards. Hold on a second. These are both re-implementations of things that were available on the Next machine. This one, I hate to tell you, Fred, is entirely vibe coded, and it demonstrates two of the things that I had mentioned. I think you have to remember, Fred. Like I said, I'm going for my PhD, and my concentration is in AI. So I wanted to see how far I could push things, not with the community, but with on the with developing apps. Let me see. So yeah, and it's a pool game. You can play. It's got physics simulation and everything, and this is entirely vibe coded. The code is of questionable quality. There are things that are done in it that are a little bit too procedural than I would like, but it works. It's maintainable, but it's not the way I would have preferred to have written it. That being said,
yeah, but with regard to the discussion that Ricardo is trying to have, it's in as far not that relevant as this is not part of the GNUstep core. So Ricardo would be in principle fine with having applications written that way that use GNUstep.
Well,
but it also shows another aspect which he is very keen about, that the code that gets generated there is of dubious, to say the least offensive way, origin. We all know that there are plenty of breakout games out there and that there is pool billiard things out there. And of course, the AI learned from all the source code. So it's highly likely that in reproducing this application, it did use part of the original code. So even if this application is for Ricardo without a question, so he would say, do whatever you want, but it proves that we can never be sure with AI in which state this code actually is, and nobody can. So I don't fully agree with Ricardo on this statement, and I don't think that we necessarily should go for AI free, but AI has for us as a free software project a really deep danger, because it's so easy to slip in code of which we don't know the origins.
Well, in fact, there is a case, and I mentioned it. I quoted it's Perlmutter versus I can't remember who the other person is. And in the US, when you have someone versus someone, I can't remember. It's always plaintiff versus defendant.
Yeah.
And the Perlmutter case discusses exactly the question they're talking about. And what's going on is in that case is that what they ruled is that they stop short of ruling that AI is a derivative work, but they did say that any copyrightable, because the question in front of the court was copyright, um, and what they ruled was is that the any work in order to be copyrightable has to have significant human involvement in order to be able to be copyrightable. Otherwise, if it's not copyrightable, which means that what we don't want, what we don't, I heard someone burp. What we don't want in GNU is for someone to entirely code an entire class using AI. And to kind of demonstrate what I'm talking about, this is my WebView implementation. It uses CEF, and I had coded this months before I even started playing with AI in order to help me code. Because at that point, we didn't have things like Codex or various other things that could actually look at a code base and analyze it. But what I was running into for like weeks was this recursive, recursive lock failure, that it was hitting something in CEF where it was running into a lock that was causing the application to either fail and get a what do you call it, a segmentation fault, or it was causing it to just sit there and spin and just do nothing. Okay. And what I did was I used AI to figure out where that problem was. The rest of the code is done by me. But I've used because I did this once before. If you look in GAP, there's a library called Berkelium library, and it does exactly the same thing, but it uses Berkelium, which is an old CEF like minimal sort of browser library, and it does the same thing. Berkelium creates a buffer, a frame buffer, and it gets sampled every so often, and I think it's once every 30th of a second, and it displays. It was, and I had that actually working. The problem is I had I think it was like BRG whatever instead of RGB A. It was BRGA, and I forgot to swap the whatever, so the colors were wrong, but it was still working. Okay, and so with this is a demonstration of how I would approve of AI being used in our project, and that is to find out, figure out bugs, find a bug and fix it, and maybe do some minimal coding in order to fix it, that may be AI assisted. But what we don't want is we don't want wholesale classes being written in AI specifically for that, because of that case that I mentioned earlier, because the provenance of the code is then in question because you can't determine whether or not the person actually wrote it or not. And so, I mean, I do understand Ricardo's position. I don't agree with it. I mean, and I think that the policy that we came up with about 2 months ago, sorry, actually, no, in February, was actually pretty reasonable with respect to that. And I think if we need to revisit it, that's fine. Yeah, but that's why I was showing the guys this, and I don't know if you've seen this. This is it's a libs WebKit CEF, and it's perfectly functional. I can check my mail on it, and it works just fine. What is it? Pro Bono was talking about whether or not we could access certain features, and you know what? I will test that right now. 1 second. You said F12. Nope. Yeah, I think I would have to add I'll take this opportunity to show you guys the bookmarks. I can add a bookmark here and delete it.
Can you also drag from the URL bar to the desktop and make a bookmark that way?
No. That way I can tell you that right now, no. And that's something I never thought of.
Distributed objects could probably do it, maybe.
What's that? I mean, it would be interesting to create a little icon here where I could just basically grab onto that icon and drag it, and that would be draggable. That would be interesting. But I didn't do that. So yeah,
So the way you would do that is just start a drag action with a URL in it. There is a standard for that, and then the desktop or the file manager needs to implement the drop for
Right.
that.
But GNUstep also has standards for drag and drop too. I don't think we'd have to follow those standards. I mean, I don't think we'd have to follow whatever Linux does with dbus or whatever.
Well, but the question is why wouldn't we? I don't know if because essentially drag and drop in GNUstep and in most other environments is implemented in the terms of cut and paste. So you would basically we'd have to make sure that the server that's running in the background, the pasteboard, is able to interface with the Linux pasteboard, or
right,
whatever whatever operating system we're running on.
I get we don't have that problem with Gershwin, I guess.
Yeah, no, I mean, and that's the strength of actually having an environment to yourself. You can define that. We kind of can't, because
right.
we would have to.
You have to be agnostic. Yeah, that makes sense.
We have to be agnostic.
Yeah, I have to admit that our current implementation has quite a few limitations. So the problem is that as we go through the pasteboard server, we don't have the right windows in Accessor, the application windows, to actually handle the drag and drop according to the proper Windows X specification. So we try to follow it as close as possible, but due to having the wrong application being in place at certain points, it doesn't fully work. And I really don't know about a way to get it working while still going via the pasteboard.
Well, Lars was asking about the Camino browser. Yes, I am very much aware of it. Let me see. I am forced to restate. One of the reasons why I did this was not to create a browser. It was to create a web view. It was so that we could actually, interface with the web view from Gorm. So yeah. Because this, interface was done in Gorm. This whole area right here is a custom class. This is what I explained to them before. It's the WebView class, and when you bring it up, of course, it talks to the WebView that's linked in, which is the one from WebKit CEF, which provides the implementation for it. So yeah, but like I said, this is a demonstration of just using AI as a tool, and that's the way I would personally approve of it. But the issue that I find with Ricardo's argument, to get back to that, is we are not in a position to pick and choose and to basically say we only want this person because we can verify that we're not using AI versus this person because he is. And so we're not in a position to sit here and say, oh, well, we don't want this guy because he's using it. What? We're already at this small, probably one of the smallest projects in existence as it is. So and we have trouble finding developers on just to boot. And so to exclude people based on the tools that they use is a little bit, in my view, a little bit, it's a little bit questionable in that sense. I understand the legal concerns. I do. But I don't think we're in a position to sit here and say, pick and choose. We're really not. So the thing that I'm trying to do in the discussion is find a balance between the two, because I think there is one. I just don't think we've landed on it yet. It's also notable to say that the example that you gave, that you said, where you said what Ricardo and others are scared of is plagiarism, essentially. But no U.S. court has yet held that AI, that anything that AI produces is a derived work of anything else. I mean, I do understand what you're talking about when you say that it may have looked at other billiard or pool programs in order to figure out that. When I did, with respect to the specific example of the vibe coded app that I wrote, but no U.S. court has actually held that, and I'm waiting to see whether or not they do, because I think it'll be very interesting. Because I mean, one of the things that David Chisnell said, he called AI a plagiarism machine, and I think that's going a little far, because it's not necessarily a plagiarism machine, because it's not just. I mean, people have claimed that one of the things that that they've made AI do is reproduce the rather unique implementation of, I think, reverse square root, or actually, I think, I can't, what is it, reverse square root or something like that. It was something that one of the guys who worked for id did, and he used a very, very unique approach to determine to do a mathematical calculation in reverse, but he did it so that it would actually happen very quickly. And they say it was by Carmack, that's his name. And
binary space partitioning.
Yes, that's it. And they said that they were able to get it to do that exact algorithm, and that it was that AI was plagiarism. No, I have yet to see that. And the issue with that is that it's like saying if someone learns something at their employer's, like with their employer, that somehow when they go somewhere years later after their whatever has expired, that somehow what they're doing is a derived work of what they did for their employer because it's in their brain. Because the large language model is not just a stochastic prediction engine. It also uses a neural network. And that neural network does learn patterns and make associations. It's not human, obviously, but it's not necessarily creating something that is a derived work of what was fed to it. So, I mean, and that's a complicated issue. And that's one thing we do have to worry about. And that's why I'm saying that we shouldn't take wholesale classes that are written entirely vibe coded. No, I don't want that. What I want is to allow people to use it to fix bugs, or to find bugs, or as a small assist in order to help with testing, maybe something like that, but not something to wholesale write like whole libraries. That's or even classes. That's not where I am. I'm trying to, like I said, I'm trying to find a middle of the road, and that's where I am. And by the way, you may notice something about the cursor in terminal now. Fred, you notice something?
I see that there's a red square, but
you see blinking? You'll see it blinking? It never used to blink. Yeah, I added that because it annoyed me that it didn't. And because you would have to look at the green, sort of like outline to determine whether or not, window decorations to determine whether or not the window is active. And now, as you can see, the only window that actually has a blinking cursor is the one that's active, so it's easier to tell. But yeah, and I've made other changes to terminal as well so that it better supports VT100 standards. I had to use VT test as a reference in order to figure out how to do that. But yeah, it's but yeah, I mean, this was actually a relatively small change. I mean, you can turn it off, like I said, like with the stuff in GNUstep as well. It's right here. Let me see, display right there, blink duration, blink interval, and so on. But yeah, so I can turn it off and it'll become solid again. But yeah, that's sort of a rehash of all the stuff that I've done. But I mean, I think that pro bono, you had some stuff to show.
Yeah, so when you're developing a desktop environment, it is sometimes thousands of little things, actually, not the one big thing, but the little stuff adds up. So it goes from completely unusable to barely usable to better usable to actually daily drivable. And that is a long road. And we're somewhere on the middle of that road right now. So if I may, I would like to share. Is it coming?
Yep, I see it.
That is actually already a big achievement, and I'm so proud that I am now able to share with sound and everything from my system, which happens also to be, in this case, Devon. So we are really intentionally also building this and testing this on different Linux distributions, systemd based, not systemd based. I happen to run Xlibre here as well. So we really want to make sure that Gershwin doesn't have any BSD or Linux isms. We want to really make it as agnostic as possible. And to that topic, also something Joe didn't mention, he did great work on test automation, CI, where we now built also for OpenBSD as well, FreeBSD, various Linux distributions. So everything in every project and all sub-projects are always built on CI now across all of those systems.
Thanks. I had forgotten about that we added, that I've helped you finish OpenBSD, and then every project we have that builds code has that same workflow. Tests all 4 platforms.
Now what I'm going to show, I have to be quick at times. We don't have that much time anymore. But if you would like to try it out for yourself, just as a reminder, in the Gershwin desktop project, we have a wiki where there are links to various live ISOs that you can try for yourself if you like. Without installation, we have started work on the installer that Joe had shown. Some are actually already installable, others are not. We are aware of that, but at least the live ISOs should be working most of the time, and we are regenerating these pretty frequently. So yeah, what do we have to show this time? Let's begin with sound. So on this system, I'm using ALSA, nothing else. But thanks to dmix, I can now play multiple streams of sound simultaneously. This is what also Jitsi needs. And this is now all integrated in the system preferences pane for sound. I hope my sound doesn't break up when I open this here. So you can see, and I'm not clicking anything right now, but it actually works, and it writes a nice configuration file specific to the hardware and the features that the hardware supports using dmix.
Awesome.
Then, speaking of preference panels, right, I'm running this on a Lenovo ThinkPad right now, and so once you do that, you realize you also need an energy panel where you can see the status of your battery and can switch the governor from power save to performance and change the screen brightness and stuff like that. Forgive how it looks right now. The design is completely garbage at the moment, but the functionality is integrated and also starts to work on all the supported systems. Then similarly, mouse, here we can now control the trackpad as well, tap to click, for example, reverse the scrolling direction, adjust the tracking speed, and for the ThinkPads, even the speed of the track point. And did we have one more? Yeah, there is one more. This is only half working at the moment, which is Bluetooth. I can do a device scan, and it should show devices here. But the whole Bluetooth backend relies on dbus, unfortunately. We are not interfacing with dbus directly. We are using a command line tool, but that command line tool itself in turn uses dbus, unfortunately, but it's beginning to work. We still have to work on the pairing and stuff. So that's it for system preference.
You are aware that there's a GNUstep project, I think, which allows the interaction with dbus.
I am not aware of that, and that sounds extremely interesting. I would be very interested in that.
I just have to check out up the name of it. I'll post it in the channel.
dbus kit?
Cool.
Sounds right.
I'm not quite sure what I heard about it. I remember it from the back of my head. dbus kit. I look it up. Wait a second.
So
it was a Google Summer of Code project, and it's really impressive what it does. There are certain limitations, and there hasn't been any development on it for, I think, 15 years now. But it's definitely worthwhile to, if you really need an integration with dbus, to start working based on that.
Well, the thing is, in Gershwin, we try to not use dbus where it is not absolutely necessary. But for example, you see here I'm running a browser. This is Brave in this case, which is a Chromium-based browser. And you see that this is integrated with our global menu. Now, this browser, of course, doesn't do anything special for Gershwin. So in order to provide this integration, we have to use dbus in this instance. There are a couple of other examples like this as well. But wherever we don't have to use it, we are not using it. So for example, if I do the same thing with text edit, also here you see the global menu. Here we are not using dbus, but native GNUstep.
Right. We were very early on using dbus kit for all the menu generation of even GNUstep apps. But we hit some walls with that, and things were not really working properly. And we kind of refactored everything a year ago more, so that GNUstep apps now use distributed objects as the path instead of dbus. That's what's made everything really work better. So
you did use dbus kit because dbus kit exposes the dbus interface as distributed object within GNUstep.
Yes.
I'm not sure whether we use dbus kit, but we
don't anymore. We did.
We did? Okay, we did in the beginning. Yeah, so our plan is to get rid of as much dbus as possible. And this goes even so far that we have a little project that unfortunately is not completely working yet called Minibus, which only implements the tiniest minimal viable subset of dbus that is needed for the menu integration and a few other places where we need it.
Where dbus kit would still be of value would be like other desktops, KDE and so on, getting GNUstep apps to flow to that. But there's a lot of problems with how it handles menus and updating menus and other things we've solved by just moving to distributed objects for native GNUstep.
By the way, I posted a link to dbus kit in the chat.
Thank you very much. So, shall we talk about apps? We have a couple of new apps. For example, we have a system profiler now. So if I go here, for example, in about this computer to more info, we have now a system profiler where you can see all the details regarding the system. Just a little thing. Then we have a stickies app. So let's see, stickies. Also just a little thing, yeah. So you can create your own stickies and they are backed by a little database. Nothing too special here. But then this is more interesting, Player, which is a media player using libsav. Having seen libsav after the recording of last time's meeting, I thought, well, libsav sounds a lot like you could play maybe MP3s or even internet radio stations. So I played a bit around with that. And let's have a look. So this is Player. And I can, for example, browse radio stations. Now it's browsing local radio stations from the vicinity using the TuneIn APIs. And it uses libsav to play that back. And of course, you can also play back local MP3 files and stuff like that. Actually, I needed a little patch to get at the artwork that is embedded in ID3 tags inside MP3 files. And I submitted a pull request for libsav on that.
Who's the maintainer of it?
I think it should be Greg.
Okay. Craig is muted.
Oh, libsav. Yes, that was the other thing I showed them, Fred. That was part of the when I implemented the score player. I did write some. I figured I would do it so that it was implementing AV Foundation, and I had already started libsav a while back. But I wanted to add to it like the classes that would be needed in order to play or to parse the score or the MIDI files and stuff like that. So yeah, that's why I had added that. So yeah, that's me.
So that is here what I'm showing, the pull request that allows to pull artwork like cover and other art meta info from the MP3 and other media files. So yeah, I would appreciate if you could have a look at that. At least in the player app that I've shown, it is working nicely. Then build is a nice little thing. So I always thought we can capitalize more on the fact that we are open source. Whereas on commercial systems, you have to have binaries for a good end user experience. You wouldn't just give someone a tarball and say have fun with it, because usually it doesn't work. What does a regular person do with just having source code? This is why everything is distributed in binary form, or that's at least a part of it. So due to the nature of our system being open source, and especially for Gershwin, where we ship all the libraries and essentially all GNUstep components in a very defined way, we know what is on the system, and I think we can build a better experience. So to demo that, let's try what we just have seen earlier today, namely Breakout. Here I'm on the GitHub Breakout page, and what's the easiest way now to get from here to a working application? Well, I click on Code, download zip. I have to say where to download it, for example, in my Downloads folder, save. Now let's go to Downloads. Here it is, Breakout. It's been downloaded, the source code. Let's extract that. Let's go in here. There is a GNU makefile, and now watch what happens as I double-click this. Build succeeded. Okay, install, and launch. Which one should I click? I take the last one. And here it is.
That is massively cool.
I don't know if you can hear me clapping or not. That's amazing.
And you know what I would love to do but don't know how to? Wouldn't it be cool if here in the window decoration we had not only close and minimize and maximize, but also a button for source. And when you would click that button, and now I don't know how to do that, the window turns over, so that you see the back side of the window, which contains the source code. Wouldn't that be cool?
Das would be cool.
One day maybe we'll get there. So we can also do this with a little more complicated one. For example, let's take this. Oh, hold on.
Oh, and by the way, one second, full disclosure, Fred, that is also the other vibe-coded application that I wrote. That and Billiards are completely vibe-coded. I did that as a test, like I said before. Anyway, continue. Sorry.
So now I have downloaded Billiards as well. Let's see how this performs. By the way, I didn't pre-stage this. I just learned about Billiards in this session, actually. So Billiards, where is the GNU makefile? Building, done. Install and launch, and we have Billiards. So actually, I then went at looking how well this performs with real-world applications, and downloaded any applications for GNUstep that I could find. And
I just noticed you're using spatial view by default for everything.
Oh yeah, I'm using spatial. I didn't talk about spatial. Shall we talk about spatial? We can. So yeah, I can now move stuff around freely positioned, like my important stuff up here, for example, or I can set a label like, do I have a to-do? Yeah, to-do. Let's make to-do red so that I always see it. So.
We had this for a long time. It's just taken until now to get things movable. But there's if you go to view, you can change the modes between browsing and spatial.
Right. So browsing is the regular browsing view where you have a sidebar and where things are nicely organized in a grid. And spatial is really freely positioning everything and in a way that is interoperable with the Mac. So if you use a DMG from the Mac or mount a network drive or anything where you have special orientation, like I have clearly in this window, then it should be interoperable. Okay, coming back to the build thing. So I went through most of the applications I could find for GNUstep and just tried to build them. And this is the result. The folders with red don't build. The folder with yellow builds, but then the app doesn't run. And the folders with green just work. Of course, we are looking into why not everything builds or runs yet, but it's a promising start. And I've also started to build in various handlers for common errors, like if there is a library not installed or something like that, then you don't get a cryptic error message, but a nice error message with the objective that in the end, you are able to hand out just the link to the source code to regular users and tell them to just double-click it. So terminal, we already talked a bit about terminal today. We did a lot of work to really make terminal behave well in general in text mode applications, for example. What is a good one? Let's say OpenCode, for example, is a text a TUI app, and it now should render properly, and it actually does. So things like clickable URLs are now clickable. Things like if you take a file that has spaces around it and drag it, you get the, what's it called? Not brackets. Quotes. You get the single quotes around it, so that this also works. A lot of detail stuff here in the terminal. Oh yeah, and it blinks too. So I now come to Workspace. In Workspace, there is this columns view, this one. And there used to be a bug that when you resize the window and you do it quickly, then the number of columns somehow increases, and that is no longer. So that is fixed here, and maybe something that could also be ported over to the official Workspace. We have hidden file name extensions by default, as you can see here everywhere. If I click on a file, then I do see the file name extension. And of course, this is configurable, so you can also switch this off.
Nice feature. I realized it before, and I wondered how it works, and now I've seen it works as expected.
We have network browsing. So if I go to network, I see what is on my local network. For example, this is an FTP server that I have on my network, and double click, and then I can just log in there. I'm not doing that right now in the interest of time, but it uses Fuse in the backend to just do it. Oh yeah, and in the sidebar, I don't know whether, Joe, you had shown this last time. If we go to browsing mode, we have the sidebar. Then also here network devices show up under network in the sidebar, so you can also use it from here.
That was a new improvement. We didn't have that last time.
Yeah, the spatial mode we have already shown. Oh, a little thing. Notice how this window here, downloads, is messed up. I can also clean this up by using cleanup. Watch what happens. It's cleaned up.
Oh, very cool.
Or I could also do this by kind, date modified size. Let's say by kind, for example. It just rearranges stuff. Works also on the desktop, of course. On the desktop. Oh, there is still a little rendering.
Does it remember your window size preferences for every folder, no matter what mode you're in? Or how does that work?
Yeah, so this is the downloads. See, it's a small window, and I put it here in the top right. Now I close the window, and now I go to downloads, and it has remembered it because this is purely stored per window.
Awesome.
Again, in an interoperable way with the Mac. So actually, I didn't have enough time to test this really, but at least in theory, we're using the same method to store all of this as the Mac does. So it is using DS info, it's called, I think, files plus extended attributes.
Cool.
So both ways are supported. Yeah, then little things like the chosen mode here now has a check mark in the menu.
Oh, did you get the cover flow thing integrated? I can remember.
Yeah, not yet in the workspace, but in the player app I have shown with the radio stations. There you saw the cover flow. What else? Yeah, very little things. I mean, I don't want to go too detailed here, but yeah, doing a desktop is sometimes detail work. For example, if I do a right click here, the context menu comes up. Now, if I go to label, see there is a sub menu, but there is no space to the right of the thing. So what does it do? Now it goes to the left.
Very good.
Little things like that.
Oh, this is something you should really pass back to GNUstep itself.
Yeah, sure. I'm totally open to that. I'm not so sure how the status of vertical menus like these drop-down menus in GNUstep is overall. I think I might be wrong on that, but I think that's mainly handled in the theme. At least these changes for this change that I've shown here with the sub menu and similar other changes, we did this purely in the theme, which is called O theme. O like water, like aqua. So we didn't patch any libraries for that. Yeah, then small stuff like if I go to applications, I have my applications here, like the player I've shown. I can now do right-click, open as folder, opens it as a folder so that I can see what is inside. Oh yeah, the window manager. I mean, it is, as you know, we have been working on our own window manager. And this is now really paying off that it's a GNUstep-based window manager because it allows us to do interesting things. For example, in the spatial navigation, if I open, now I have to go to spatial. Let me switch that again. Spatial, and use that also as the default.
Oh, I think it's just because you have to change the view mode back to there
here, but anyway. So in spatial, I need an easy way to navigate upwards. And on the Mac, you can right-click in the title or control-click in the title, and then it does the right thing. And we have that now too.
Nice.
Yeah, really nice.
And it doesn't move with the window yet. That is still to be fixed. Or also a little thing, but nevertheless, I think quite useful. Let me demonstrate this. No, not terminal. Window manager. This is a test application that hangs when I try to close it. So trying to close it. It waits for a couple of seconds. And I get force quit application. The window has not closed. Do you want to force quit the application? And I mean, this is now a native feature in the window manager, and it is fully GNUstep. Force quit kills the app.
Do you also have the possibility to stop a window from closing when there's a process running inside? For instance, in terminal, if you have a window with a process running?
You mean when the CPU reaches 100%?
No. Just a normal process. You're doing something and you close it by accident. Try to close it by accident. Then you should come up with a dialogue. There's a process running.
Good idea. Now I get it. No, we don't have that yet, but that's a good idea, and it's noted. A warning if close terminal with process. So one other little thing I did is here in the radio browser, for example, there are so many radio stations that they don't really fit the menu. So what do? You make the menu scrollable, right?
Like on the Mac.
Exactly. Yeah, I can't go through everything here, but just trying to find the more interesting things. Oh yeah, in general, our compositor is not producing any artifacts anymore. The only exception being these animations that are very new still, where you see some artifacts here that are going away now. But in general, it's all working very well now with good performance and no artifacts anymore.
Maybe show the application downloader thing you made. I don't know if you have that on the system.
The application down, yeah, sure, of course, good idea. I would almost have forgotten about that one. So let's say, what's a good example? GIMP. I have to uninstall it first. Sudo apt remove GIMP. One challenge we have with this is that we would like to make a full desktop experience that normal people can just use, download, and install, or even run from the live ISO and just be productive. In order for that to be really the case, ideally we would like to ship lots of real-world applications. I don't mean tiny, small applications, but full-fledged applications like LibreOffice, GIMP, that kind of stuff, which is usually very large, hundreds of megabytes, or even web browsers, right? So we now have a feature where we can have an application show up here in the menu, for example, under, where do I have graphics? Graphics. And it seems like many applications are available there, right? Including GIMP, which is not on the system because I just deinstalled it. Well, if I want to open this, a dialog comes up saying GIMP is not yet available on the system. Do you want to download it? And if I press download, then it just runs apt-get and installs it and then opens it. And this, of course, has also an agnostic backend so that it works with apt and with PKG, which FreeBSD uses, and so on.
Use. Nice.
So now we can ship pre-defined applications for graphics, for example, and for Office, LibreOffice, and stuff like that. Oh yeah, that's, by the way, also a feature. If I go here to a menu that has a submenu, and I just stay here, not in the submenu, but in the item that has a submenu, then it opens the corresponding window. yeah, then the whole sharing and networking, this is still an area that is actively being worked on. But what I noticed is with many systems, getting staff just to work on the local network, just getting a file from computer A to computer B is usually more cumbersome than just opening Gmail and mailing it to yourself. And I would like to change that. So work is being done on the sharing pref pane to make that really less cumbersome. So ideally, you just click here what you want to have. File transfer, SFTP, SMB, even screen sharing, or now we also have a web server. And you can, or even here, mini DLNA for media sharing, you can just switch that on, and then it starts the corresponding service and also announces it via DNSSD, aka zeroconf on the network, so that is auto detected. Logging in, for me, it's always a bit cumbersome since I'm a German native speaker with, of course, a German keyboard. Whenever you boot up a live system, a live USB or a live CD, it's always the default English. And you have each time you have to change this. I find that very annoying. And hence I implemented a couple of methods for the system to auto-detect the language. Number one is max, store this kind of information in an EFI variable in the firmware. So for example, if you set your system to French on the Mac and then you start recovery or even boot from an external system, it knows that you want French. And you don't have to select this every time. And since this is stored in an EFI variable, we can just read that EFI variable and honor it. So if you use Gershwin on the Mac and you have already set up the Mac with your language, Gershwin just knows and uses that for the keyboard layout.
I really appreciate your attention to the detail. That's how it should be done.
Thank you. Similarly, if you do that hundreds of times, and I test a lot of live systems because we have to test this all the time, this is really a big difference if you don't have to change it every time by hand. So similarly, USB keyboards. I don't know why, but for whatever reason, most keyboards don't have this information built in, what language they are. The Raspberry Pi keyboards do. So we are using that as well. So if you have a computer and you attach a German Raspberry Pi keyboard to that, boot the system, it knows that it is a German keyboard. So we use that information. And possibly there are some more signals that we can use. By the way, that EFI variable that the Mac sets, you can just set the same variable on any kind of computer. And maybe we will add this as a GUI feature in the future. Yeah, I think that was a quick run through. Joe, did I miss any major things? I couldn't go through everything in the interest of time, but if you have any questions or if I can show any other areas of the system, I am happy to. And everyone is really invited to download one of the live ISOs. You don't have to install anything. We also try to make this small, certainly under 2 gigabytes, ideally less than that. And you can give it a try for yourself.
Oh, I think you covered everything. That was good.
Yeah, really awesome.
Cool. Thank you very much.
I will have to drop off out now, so thank you very much. And it was a really impressive demonstration you gave, pro bono.
Thank you very much, Fred.
See you or hear you more, rather, next time. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye, Fred. Thank you for coming.
So, Craig,
Yes.
we're done now? I would say so, yeah.
Well, I mean, we've been going for 3 hours. It doesn't feel like that long, actually. It feels like a lot less than that. But yeah, I think unless anyone else has anything to show, I think we should probably go ahead and wrap up if you guys are okay with that. But yeah, Joe and Pro Bono, man, very impressive.
Oh, lots of cool stuff from you too, Greg. I appreciate all the stuff you showed off. I can't wait to play with a lot of it.
Thanks. It's like I said, when I post the video, all of it's going to be in the description, like a link to everything that we talked about.
Oh, cool.
And if you guys can provide me any links that you want me to include, also in the description, please let me know. I mean, just email me, and I'll add those.
Some links from the chat, maybe too.
Yeah, I'll add those.
Okay, to comment out. I don't know if it's too much work. I hope not.
No.
Actually, to make this easy, I just posted 2 links in the chat right now. One goes to our wiki, and one goes especially to the changelog that contains the items that I went over today. So if you would like, you are free to include these links in the video description.
Okay. All right. I'm copying them now. Oops. Yeah, so I've got those. Let me see. Yeah, we also talked about dbus kit. Sorry, I'm just taking down all of the URLs.
Nice.
That we talked about. Cool. I've got them all, I think. Let's see, and I will absolutely include them all in the description. Let me see. There we go. Yeah. Well, let me go ahead and stop the recording. Hold on.
Yep. I think I'll go ahead and log off. See you guys next month. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much, everyone. Goodbye.
All right, guys.
Bye.
Oh boy, I hope that what I think is happening didn't happen. No, it is recording. How do I stop it? Yeah. All right, Lars, I'm just going to go ahead and end it because I think that I can't seem to find the control to turn off the recording. Okay.
It's in the 3 dots on the left side, right to the red headset.
Still don't see it. I see record, but I don't see stop recording. Because when I go up to the red thing, it says this meeting is being recorded. So it is being recorded. But yeah, I'll go ahead and just drop off.
Okay, hope the best that it's still there somehow.
All right, Lars. I'll check to make sure that it is.
Yeah, hope so. pressing it down. Bye bye.